going to be kind of in a nutshell. The title was creativity, but really looking at, you know, do you have creative outlets? Do you think having creative outlets are important for you, or just being creative, or just sort of a conversation around that? Because I don't know if that's something that's important to you or to people your age. I know for me, that the drive to create and make something has always sort of been a part of who I am. Um, I don't know how you feel about that. So it's just going to be a question. And then I have these Leonardo da Vinci created something called the 7 Principles of Creativity. So I was just going to share out those with you as well.
Sounds interesting. What are the questions?
Yeah, well, let's do this. I'm going to stream this as well, just in case anybody wants to pop in. My boss sometimes likes to peek in on us, so I am going to start live streaming it. Now, I know normally Kellen goes through the ropes, which are essentially our rules. But if you're okay with it, I'm just going to expect that you've listened to the ropes before, and it's also just me and you. So if you're okay with me skipping the ropes, I'm going to do that.
Definitely.
All right. What I can do is just kind of bring them up real quick so that we can look at them just as a reminder. It's not going to work for me.
Is it going to be on the group chat?
I'm just going to share on my screen real quick the ropes. And then can you see those?
Let's see.
I will just read through these. So respect, responsibility, a reminder that this is being recorded. When we gather together, we like to be open-minded and see that this is an opportunity for everybody to share and connect. Having patience with one another, especially these days with all of the new changes and the kind of virtual space that we live in now. Participation, we encourage it, but there's lots of ways to participate. Sometimes just being present for me is participating. Try to make an effort, try to be engaged. I hope you enjoy it. And just a reminder that this is a safe space, okay?
Yes.
All right. So, I mean, the first thing I was going to do was what I was calling just a brainstorm. So I am going to try something a little bit different, okay? All right. So look at, okay. How does that look to you? Can you read that word?
Let's see. So it's a word. Let me think.
I'll start over again.
Creativity.
Yeah, it's not the neatest, huh? Let me try it one more time. So what I like to do usually is just a quick little like brainstorming session. So when I say the word creativity, what's some of the first words or ideas or thoughts that come to your mind?
When you create something.
Okay, so that's it. Yeah, when you create. All right. Can you think of an example of something you might create?
Let's think of like a little boy. Let's say he wants to create a little toy or something like that.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, toy makers are extremely creative.
Well, I work at Duncan. I create a latte.
Yeah, no, listen, honestly, like, baristas, cooks, these, people who that is part of the creative process when you're making something. I used to work as a barista and I loved, creating the perfect creamy foam for my lattes.
Yeah, I love that part.
Yeah, somebody taught me that cold milk is the way to go. The
Hmm.
colder the milk, the creamier the foam is. So just a little tip. Yeah, so creativity can come in a lot of ways. The general definition of creativity.
I'm allowed to point this out. Um, uh, well, God created us.
Say that one more time.
I said, if you think about this, God created us.
Right. I mean, it's constantly around us every day when we
Mhm.
when we look outside, or especially now in springtime when we see what's happening and the flowers blooming and everything around us is changing and getting colorful. It's a beautiful time of year. And yeah, for people who have faith or belief in God, that's something that's huge, huge.
Mhm.
I wrote some quotes here which I thought were fun. So Albert Einstein said creativity is intelligence having fun. Matisse believes that creativity takes courage. And Maya Angelou said, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have.
Mm.
Um, and then just the general definition of creativity is the ability of a person or group to make something new and useful or valuable, or the process of doing that. But what I wanted to do before we move into the next section is to, if you don't mind, help me do a little bit of a brainstorm here, because I think it's important to remember that we can all be creative in a number of ways. Just like you said, that when you make those lattes, that is being creative. You are making something. So
Mm.
you can be creative in a number of ways, in many different pursuits, many different interests. So wanted to just do a quick brainstorm of ways that someone can be creative in the categories that I created here. So when you think of art, what what comes to your mind?
Um, the Mona Lisa.
The Mona Lisa. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am trying to switch out here.
Maybe you were just a little kid, just drawing something.
I know. And you know what I'm going to do for 1 second, Devont? I'm going to close this
All right.
and then try to open it back up again because it is not allowing me to type. It is stuck in the drawing mode. Okay. All right. So give me that again. You said when you're a child, what did you say there? Were you talking about drawing or just making a
Yeah, when
picture?
a child draws something that they want that they want to draw. Like when I was a little kid, I drew uh a picture of a plant that we had. It's my
Okay.
grandmother.
Oh,
Hmm.
like a still life almost. When you look at something that's actually in front of you and you try to recreate it. So yeah, definitely making pictures and drawing. I feel like there
Hmm.
was one more thing that you said that I missed. Do you remember?
Mona,
Hmm?
the Mona Lisa.
Oh, the Mona Lisa, of course.
Hmm.
Um, Painted by none other than Leonardo da Vinci.
And there's
Uh,
one other thing too. If you look at the sky, I mean, if you look at the sky and see it's all clear and the clouds and it just looks all beautiful, and you're looking at and you're um you're on a mountain and you see this, the beautiful sky, and you say, God created that. It's like he drew it, in his mind. He drew it like in the morning.
Right.
That's
So I'm going to add, it's cool because I'm going to add down here this idea that like, um, there's creativity in the world around us, in nature especially, right? And you're saying that's essentially God's work.
that's right. Yep. That's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of artists use, nature as inspiration, right? I mean, a lot of times these things don't just come to us, or to anybody, right? When you're creating, it's always good to look for um, inspiration in order to have some self-expression. So what about in music? Can you think of a way in music that one can be creative?
Um, yeah. um, Man, I can think of all kinds of things.
Give me two.
Like got to like name like maybe personal singers.
Yeah, so songwriting
Yeah.
and singing.
Or to me, the best song, best singers I know and I like. Um, Chris Cornell.
I do, yeah.
Chris Cornell's voice is like I've never heard a voice like that. Like God gave him a gift.
Yeah.
um,
Um, Definitely was a beautiful voice and is definitely lost too soon. Um, yeah, I mean, you could go on and on with music, learning an instrument.
that's right.
Do you play any instruments, Devon?
No, I've always thought about learning a guitar or something like that, but I
Yeah.
never. Maybe in the future.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of time. I played piano when I was little, but I started teaching myself the guitar probably well into my adulthood. So we won't spend too much more time on this because I want to move on to the next piece. But so let's think real quick. Do you want to choose one of these categories: literature, physical movement, theater, mathematics, or the trades to kind of storm a way to get creative?
Physical movement.
What do you got?
Um, my dad has taught me a lot of exercises and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and that you can do to get strong. And sometimes you don't even see this in videos. And my dad, like, if they saw you in the gym, they're like, "What the heck is this guy doing?" But this actually helps, like resistance.
Oh yeah.
Resistance helps you intense your intensity on what you're doing, and it helps you do things in the future in case you're like you're moving things, you're moving couches and you're helping someone move out of their house. It helps you in that case. um,
Definitely, resistance training is huge.
mhm.
Um, I often think of dance too, and not everybody is a dancer. And here's the thing that I want to clarify too, that,
You
the
can.
reason I wanted to do this session is because I think sometimes people hear the word creative and it can be a little bit intimidating, right? Somebody might think, oh, I'm not a creative person. I don't draw, I don't paint, I don't do this. But what I want us to realize together is that creativity can happen in so many ways, in so many forms, and everybody has the ability to kind of tap in to their creative side and to experiment and take risks.
Dancing can be a creativity.
Say that again.
I said dancing can be definitely be a creativity. I mean, um, like you're in the say you're at a wedding, and after the wedding, it's like you're like, man, look at this guy's moves. Oh, he can dance.
Yeah, I think, and even for personal sort of freedom and creativity, sometimes people, I like to just dance on my own. I don't necessarily even always need a need a place to be, just feeling the music and letting it kind of connect with yourself can always be a good.
Hmm.
So let me ask you this question. When is the last time that you made something?
Anything.
Anything at all, it doesn't matter.
Um, probably when I worked at Dunkin' yesterday.
Yeah, latte.
Yeah, or anything.
Yeah.
A colada. Sometimes you have to make food there. You know what coladas are there? I don't know if
I don't
you
know
ever
what
had.
that is. No, what is a colada?
It's almost like a smoothie. We blend it in a blender.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's a frozen type. It's like crushed ice. Um, you put like say you want a small blue raspberry colada. You pump 2 pumps of blue raspberry colada into the colada mix thing,
Mhm.
and you blend it, and then there it is. It's basically crushed ice. It's almost like a um, what do you call that? Only it's more sweeter because it's
Like a slushy or like a
sort of like a slushy.
uh, is it coffee based?
Is no. We do make frozen coffees though.
Oh, okay. All right.
That has a coffee base to it.
Okay.
Only that's made with like creamer and stuff like that.
Okay.
The vanilla bean is made with milk.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
Like a milkshake almost. Mm.
yeah. So you'd actually like it.
Let's see. The last time, well, let's see. I mean, what the last time I made something, I could say that I made, coffee this morning. Um, I taught myself recently how to make a chicken pot pie from scratch, which was a big
Ooh.
project. I meant to buy the frozen pastry and then we forgot. So I taught myself how to make the pastry dough from scratch, and it's pretty delicious. I was
Good
very
for you.
satisfied. Yeah, it was a good experience. I'm not sure how soon I'll do it again, but it was good. Um, so I had a couple of questions. Maybe I'll just ask two, and then I'll share the principles of creativity, and we'll wrap up. Okay. So I want you to think back on your life and take a minute. You don't have to think right away. And I just want you to share a time that you were really proud of something that you created or designed or made. So if it comes to your mind right away, you can share, but if you just need a minute to think back,
Something that I was proud that I
yeah,
made.
like after you created it or you designed it or you made it, that you felt really, really proud of what you had accomplished.
Um, Actually, I can think something right away.
Okay, go for it.
Back to Duncan.
That's okay.
Because I made this. Um, Somebody thought because my you know what the signature latte is.
I think so. Tell me about it.
It's where you make the latte, hot or ice, and you put whip. So you want a caramel craze. Um, so it's like basically like a caramel latte, only you put whipped cream, caramel drizzle, and cinnamon sugar topping on top.
Mm,
That's
okay.
that's a caramel craze. or if it's a coca mocha, which is a coca mocha craze, then you put chocolate topping on top of the whipped cream, and then coca mocha powder on top.
Sounds
Sounds
good.
good, huh?
So you made one
So
recently?
yeah, I mean, like I make them all the time.
Hmm.
You know, a bunch of the guys always challenge each other, saying like, "Oh, I can do better than you," or "I bet you that's going to turn out horrible now because the way you're making it." Because my whipped cream game is can be a little bit fungy, a little bit my
Okay.
whipped cream game, and so I actually made this latte, and I actually got to make it it actually looked presentable. It actually looked pretty good. Like the whipped cream game was actually falling apart a little bit, but I actually rebounded, and I got around the edges of the cup a little bit, and it actually made it look actually kind of nice, and
Hmm.
actually looked pretty nice. And yeah, and I was proud of that because my coworker thought it was gonna look pretty bad. I mean, like there you go, looking all proud and all that, and I mean, like it actually looks pretty good. I was proud of it.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah, for sure. When you sort of are doing something maybe you normally do, and then expecting that it's not going to turn out the way you envisioned, and then suddenly it's like you produced something that kind of surpassed your expectations or surprised you, and kind of gives you that sense of pride, but in a good way, right? I know pride. You have to be careful not to be too prideful.
Yeah.
But it's okay to be proud of yourself when you accomplish something and you feel good about it. I think it's something to celebrate, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. How
Mhm.
about you?
Um, Let me think. Something, well, I shared my pot pie, so let me come. Oh, I know. So I do I've been creating we have some self-guided activities that we've been creating as well for our youth. And my superiors have put me in charge of creating some art activities, which I was kind of challenging at first to come up with activities that I felt like were easy enough for anybody to try and that didn't require a lot of art supplies, right? So I was starting to get creative and I ended up finding this activity and I made one of them. And I have to admit, I'm really proud of it. I'm almost inspired to start creating my own coloring books. Would you like to see what I made?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up to the screen. Can you see it?
uh let's see. Um oh, I can see.
Yeah.
It's pretty
So
nice.
thanks. It's called a Zentangle.
Zen-
It's like a doodling activity, but with some structure to it. Um, so yeah, that turned out way better than I had anticipated. I was just sort of doing it to come up with something that I thought would be, fun and interesting for the teens, and then I ended up sitting all night, sitting all night and creating it. So,
Oh,
but I think, with those kinds of questions, it's like we can think back to something really major that we've made, but I also just think of this one, these little things that, like, I think your example is very appropriate in that, like, sometimes it's just those little moments of creating something that can really give us that boost of energy and make us want to keep creating. Um, and then I guess my next question would be, did you ever um, try to create or make or design something and you failed or it didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to? And if so, what did that how did that feel for you?
um, I mean, I mean, like it's happened before. I mean, I guess I can say, disappointed.
Yeah.
a waste of time, a waste of whatever project I had to use or stuff I had to use for it, or
Yeah, that's true.
I feel bad for myself what I did, and so
Yeah, I know it's hard when we, have a vision for something or we have a plan, and especially if you're feeling excited about it, or you buy something specific to use, like a certain supplies or whatever it is, and that when it doesn't quite meet your vision, either all the way or even in a little bit of a way, it can be a disappointment. But I think really important to remember that, failure is going to happen, and it's a natural part of the process in being creative or trying to make something. Because I can imagine that most people, when they want to make something, they don't always get it right the first or second time. Sometimes it takes multiple tries in order to achieve your vision. Some people get it the first try though too, So I think it's important to remember there has to be always be space and room for us to make mistakes, to maybe fail, but also then to take that risk, because if we continue to take those risks, just as much as we achieve failure, we can also achieve successes. Do you agree? Disagree? I think.
no, I agree with that.
Do you think it's
Um,
important for people to have creative outlets? Like you personally, do you think that's something that's important?
uh, totally. I think definitely for a kid, if the kid doesn't have a creative outlet, I mean, that's like a wow for me. I mean, like, there must be something going on in their life that um blocks them from having that creative outlet, or
Mm.
having that imagination of something. So
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's extremely important. And, I'm constantly trying to foster it for myself, but I think it does get harder as we get older, but I do think it's still really, really important. But you've said something that I didn't think about too much, and that's especially the importance for young children to have those opportunities and outlets, because it kind of sets the stage for you as you continue to grow and develop. And I think creativity is a big part of self-identity and self-expression. So that's part of the growing process. That's part of growing up, maturing, learning about yourself. Um, so, all right, cool. Would you like to learn about Da Vinci's 7 principles?
sure. I was gonna actually, if you wanted to talk, just talk. It'd be awesome too.
Yeah. Why don't we do this? I'll go through those and then I'll stop the live, and then you and I can just have kind of just a regular conversation, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So I won't go through all this, but I did, do a little research on Da Vinci, born in Italy. He was renowned primarily as a painter. And you've already mentioned the Mona Lisa. Oh, hold on a second, Janelle. I have to share my screen with you. There we go. Okay.
There we
So
go.
you'd already mentioned the Mona Lisa, which was a Da Vinci painting. He's also very well known for The Last Supper and the Vitruvian Man, which is more of a drawing and a study in anatomy. Um, I'll try to pull that up later. But what's really interesting about Da Vinci is he had no formal academic training, yet is still thought to be one of the greatest minds of all time. Often referred to as a Renaissance man, a universal genius, and someone who had unquenchable curiosity. These are all the things that he was, which I found very fascinating. He was a painter, a sculptor, an architect, a musician, a mathematician, engineer, on and on and on. So he definitely was a man of many talents. So his 7 principles of creativity are the following: um, curiosity, an insatiable, curious approach to life, and an unending quest for continuous learning. So that's a big piece of it, is, always asking questions and wanting to find out more. That often leads people to, you know, creative places. Number 2, an ability to think independently. I think this is something we talked about, is also within those failures that there has to be that willingness to learn from your past mistakes. Third is sharpening your senses. So, in order to be innovative, it's
I think,
important.
sorry to interrupt you, but I think number two,
Yeah, go for it.
I think a lot of Americans forget about that. Just saying.
Yes, I think a lot of people do. I think we become so used to fitting in certain norms and stereotypes and just kind of moving along, listening to everybody else around us, rather than that ability to kind of think outside of the box or think for yourself.
And number three ties in just perfectly. I mean, sharpen your senses. Be smart about things.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't
situational
just.
awareness. I don't know if you know what that phrase means.
I'm sorry.
The phrase situational awareness here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that goes a little bit to what you were saying too. That ability to know what's going on around you, and to be aware of that. And I interrupted you. What else were you going to say about the sharpening your senses piece?
I think it will tell you, not think smart about things. Don't go all the time to follow what the world is doing. That's my basic thought about it.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I think it's, um, going through life, it's a good reminder to ourselves that we are influenced and impacted and connected to all of the people around us. But then within that, finding your own path and your own way of, moving forward in life is it's really important. Number 4, we have embrace uncertainty, a willingness to accept change, uncertainty, or ambiguity, which means basically when something's unclear or vague. So, do you have any thoughts on that principle, embracing uncertainty?
Um, it's, trying to embrace change.
I think right now, where, this time that we're living in, there is a lot of uncertainty and a lot of change. But you'll often find that in moments like this, that's when people really start to innovate and become creative, because we're placed in a situation where we have to kind of challenge ourselves a little bit. But that also then goes back to what you were saying, that we have to have a willingness to embrace all of the changes that happen in life, both individually and collectively.
Mm-hmm.
Easier said than done, but I think these are just a lot of good reminders. So I'll come back up here to number 5. Balance, logic, and imagination. So an encouragement to use whole brain thinking. And I'm not sure where I got this quote, but I liked it. It was, imagination without logic is daydreaming, and logic without imagination is boring. Have you ever heard of the right brain versus left brain?
Versus left brain, yeah, I had to deal with that.
Oh yeah,
I
how
actually had to
so?
go. I actually had to go through a program to help that.
Okay, how did that work for you?
It was a little hard the past.
Yeah.
It was like a 6 month program. It was a little bit hard for the first couple months, but yeah, I know all about that.
Okay.
It's important to have the balancing of the brain, because if your brain is unbalanced, it can cause you not thinking right, and if you have like an allergic reaction to it, because it's actually tested and proven that the brain can have like an allergic reaction to um, gluten, gluten stuff like
Yeah,
things that are like not gluten free
yeah, the brain fog of sorts, they call
because
it.
of the chemicals that they put in stuff these days.
Yeah, we have to be
Um,
aware for sure. But I think, it's good to remember that like some people are naturally lean towards that sort of right brain thinking, some people lean towards the left brain thinking, but I think if you work at it and you spend time on it, you
you
can
can
develop
develop
both sides,
outside,
right?
right?
Number
I don't
six,
know if
we
you
have,
ever. So, how long you lived in Pittsburgh?
pardon me?
How long you lived in Pittsburgh?
Well, I grew up here and I left when I was 18. Came back briefly in my 20s and then just came back again, like I said, about a year and a half ago.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if you ever heard of the Brain Balance Achievement Center. That's where I went for the program.
No, I haven't. You said brain balance achievement centers?
Yeah, Achievement Center. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it's called. Those people are, they are so nice. Um, they help a lot of kids that are having trouble with school, um, um, having trouble with social skills, or that are having trouble to maybe reason things out, um, and how to even to work out, like doing things, exercising. That was my
You
problem.
know,
I
moving
couldn't
into
even do it.
the sixth one, look at number six. I'm sure they spoke to you a lot about that, the importance of balancing the body with the mind.
Yep. I
Yeah.
remember. I remember that. That was just. Yep.
Yeah. So that's that mind body connection, right?
That's right. That's the importance of working out.
Mm-hmm. Or whether it's what you're deciding to intake into your body on a regular basis. And I mean, there always has to be a little bit of balance, right? I mean, I still like to eat ice cream, so I'm not going to stop doing that.
You don't want to stop that. Like, no, we gotta at least go. Maybe eat a little bit of pizza or something.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not going to be the only thing that I eat, right? It's about everything in moderation. Well, let me do this. So the last one is making new connections. I can still bring this up and we can talk more, but the last one is make new connections. And I really like this one as a principle of creativity because it really is just that recognition that there is an interconnectedness in everything, and that sometimes being innovative or creative isn't about necessarily making something new, but sometimes you can see links to other things, and then you can understand, maybe how to use something old in a new and innovative way. So I really like that piece of the creativity process as well. I'm going to just take a moment, Devon, stick with me.
No problem.
And I am going to bring us out of the presenting. Okay, so anybody who's watching this live or the recording, the last thing I'll say before I stop recording is that, we're all capable of being creative, and I urge everyone to challenge themselves to try and, create or make something the next week or so. So let me come down here. Stop live.